Evan loved the library. To him, it was more than just a place to borrow books or finish homework. It was a world of its own, a sanctuary where he could escape the ordinary and step into the extraordinary. The moment he walked through the heavy wooden doors, he felt a gentle hush settle over him, as if the library itself was welcoming him back like an old friend. More than anywhere else in Maple Creek, the library felt like home. Outside, the town bustled with the usual sounds of daily life, but inside, Evan found a peacefulness that wrapped around him like a soft blanket. He could hear the distant patter of rain against the windows, and it made the library feel even cozier. It wasn't just a building, it was a fortress of stories, a place where the rain's rhythm outside made every visit feel like an adventure. Each drop seemed to tap out a secret code, inviting him to explore deeper and deeper into the shelves. The library was alive with possibility, and Evan felt it in his bones. He knew every corner, or so he thought. He'd spent countless afternoons curled up in the reading nook, or tracing his fingers along the spines of books he'd already read twice. But the library always seemed to have new mysteries waiting for him just out of sight. Today, drawn by a restless curiosity, Evan wandered past the bright children's section into the library's older, quieter depths. The cheerful colours faded behind him, replaced by the soft glow of old lamps and the shadows cast by towering shelves. He felt a shiver of excitement. This was a part of the library he rarely visited. The shelves here stretched high, the air thick with the scent of old paper and secrets. Dust motes danced in the golden light, and Evan imagined that every book held a hidden world, waiting for someone brave enough to open its cover. Evan felt the hush of ancient stories waiting to be discovered. It was as if the library itself was holding its breath, watching to see which book he would choose next. He imagined the books whispering to each other after dark, sharing their tales and secrets when no one was listening. Sometimes he wondered if the library had a magic all its own, a magic that only revealed itself to those who truly believed in stories. On this grey afternoon, the library felt more magical than ever, like it was hiding a secret just beyond. The rain outside made the light inside seem more and Evan felt as if he was on the edge of something wonderful. He was ready for a story that would make his heart race. He wanted to find a book that would sweep him away, that would make him forget the world outside and lose himself in adventure. And today, as his fingers brushed against a mysterious, glowing book on the highest shelf, Evan sensed that he was about to find it. A story unlike any he'd ever known, waiting just for him to turn the first page. Evan spotted a narrow aisle he'd never seen before, marked by a hand-painted sign, Archive. It seemed to appear out of nowhere, beckoning him forward. The air was cooler, the shelves darker, the books bound in plain leather. No titles, no clues. Each book felt ancient, important, and mysterious. At the end of the aisle, the shelves met a brick wall. Evan sensed he'd stumbled upon the library's hidden heart, a place for the oldest, most secret stories. He reached for a book that felt different, as if it was waiting for him. At the very end, a single book stood out, matte black, unmarked, absorbing the dim light. Evan felt drawn to it, as if it called his name. He picked it up. It was heavier than expected, cool and smooth. No title, no author, no markings at all. Was it even a real book? He sat on a nearby stool, heart pounding, and opened it. The pages were creamy and untouched, but not empty. On the first page, black ink began to appear, as if written by an invisible hand. Evan leaned closer, eyes wide with wonder. The ink formed a sentence. A young boy named Evan sits on a wooden stool at the end of a forgotten aisle. Evan's breath caught. Was the book describing him right now? More words appeared, mirroring his thoughts and actions. The book knew him. It called him by name. He wanted to run, but curiosity anchored him. He turned the page. New words flowed, narrating his every move. The book was a perfect mirror, reflecting his fear and fascination. He was both terrified and captivated. The story continued, as if the book was alive. Evan couldn't stop reading. Panic surged through Evan as he slammed the book shut, desperate to end the magic that had begun to seep from its pages. The air in the library seemed to thicken, shadows flickering as if the very room was holding its breath. He pressed his trembling hands against the ancient cover, feeling a strange warmth pulse beneath his fingers, as if the book itself was alive and resisting his efforts. He waited, heart pounding so loudly he thought it might echo off the stone walls. Every second stretched, heavy with anticipation, but the world around him felt unchanged, eerily still, as if time itself was pausing to see what would happen next. Unable to resist, Evan slowly lifted the cover, curiosity and dread warring inside him. Bravely, he peeked inside, only to discover that the words had continued to appear, flowing across the pages without pause, as if his actions meant nothing to the story's relentless progress. The book wrote. The boy slams the book shut, hoping to stop the words. But he is wrong. The ink danced and twisted, forming sentences that described his every move, every emotion, as if the book was watching him, recording his struggle in real time. The story did not need his eyes to be written. It was as if the book had a will of its own, determined to continue, regardless of whether anyone was there to witness its tale unfold. Overcome by fear, Evan dropped the book. It landed open on the floor, pages fluttering, and still the ink flowed, spilling across the parchment in glowing streams, unstoppable and alive. Even untouched, the story wrote itself, narrating his fear and paralysis in vivid detail. The glowing words described a frightened boy, frozen in place, unable to escape the grip of the tale that now seemed to control him. Evan tried to move, to run from the book's eerie power, but his body refused to obey. It was as if invisible threads of magic held him fast, binding him to the story that refused to let him go. The book had a hold on him, its glowing tendrils of energy reaching out, wrapping around his limbs and rooting him to the spot. He could feel the pull, a strange connection that grew stronger with every word written. Desperation filled Evan's eyes as he struggled against the invisible force. He didn't know how to break free, or if escape was even possible. All he knew was that the story was far from over, and he was trapped within its unstoppable ink. Evan crouched, reading from a safe distance as the writing sped up. The tone shifted. Ominous words appeared. The boy does not know it yet, but he is no longer alone in the aisle. Evan's head snapped up. Nothing but shelves and shadows. The book insisted. A sound is coming. Footsteps. They are soft, but getting closer. Evan's blood ran cold. He was too scared to turn around. The fear chained him to the spot. The book's words felt like a prophecy. The warning echoed. Footsteps, just behind him. Evan spun around, heart pounding. Nothing there. Relief flooded him, but the book's new words mocked him. He turns, but he turns too soon. The relief is premature. Had he missed something? Was the book lying, or was it always one step ahead? Evan stared at the page, courage evaporating. Too soon. He had looked, hadn't he? Doubt gnawed at him. Maybe the book's truth was deeper than he realized. He was trapped in a story he couldn't control. Evan stayed crouched, his knees pressed tightly to his chest, the book's words haunting him. Each glowing letter seemed to pulse with a life of its own, casting strange shadows across the dusty floor. He could feel his heart pounding in his ears, louder than the hush of the library, louder even than the distant patter of rain against the windows. The air felt thick, heavy with secrets, as if the library itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. He did not wait long enough. The seconds stretched, each one sharper than the last, until time itself seemed to bend around him. Evan's nerves frayed with every tick, every creak of the old building. The silence felt menacing, the library's peace shattered by a sudden gust that sent loose papers fluttering to the floor. The book wrote, its penmanship frantic, as if desperate to communicate before it was too late. The story is not over. The words glowed brighter, burning themselves into Evan's memory, a warning and a promise all at once. The sound was not a lie. It was real, vibrating through the floorboards, echoing in the hollows of the shelves. It was just a promise, one that something or someone was coming. The book's glow softened, as if it had given all it could. Evan strained to listen, blocking out the rain and his own breath. He pressed his palms to his ears, desperate to catch any sound that might warn him of what was approaching. For a moment, there was only silence, so complete it felt unnatural, as if the world itself had paused. Then, a faint rhythmic thump echoed from the aisle's entrance. It was distant at first, almost imagined, but it grew steadily louder, more insistent. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, drawing closer with every beat. Each step sent a shiver up Evan's spine, the sound reverberating through the empty aisles. The book had stopped writing. Its warning was complete. The glow faded, leaving only the memory of its message behind. Evan's eyes darted between the book and the dark aisle, fear tightening his grip on the worn cover. He could feel the presence drawing nearer, unseen but unmistakable. The footsteps kept coming. Thump, 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 each one a reminder that the story, and whatever haunted its pages, was far from over.